Welcome to Magnet Paranormal Talk. I'm your host, William Saunders, and this is not the episode I thought I was going to be recording. Make a long story short, I had planned on recording a message basically saying that we were going to shut down the channel. And you're asking why, what's the reason? I just had some things happen that made me go, oh no, hell no, I'm not going to do this. Needless to say, if you're that kind of scared, yeah, it's probably best to reconsider what it is you're doing. And I think what drives it for me is the situation with the Wallace house. That experience I buried, pretty significantly. And it wasn't until I started working on the book that I was forced to kind of think about it. And once I began thinking about it, that's the thing with trauma is, you relive it when you explore it. And sometimes that's what it takes to heal, but it is traumatic to relive that. And when I was contemplating all the things that occurred, all the shit I hid, all the desperation I felt, the hopelessness I felt, I may not want to, dive into this. And I think the reason I started working on the book in general was that there wasn't a whole lot of things that occurred between 2016 and now. I mean, it was a quiet period, and quite frankly, the only thing I can think of that occurred during that time frame was one UFO sighting that occurred on the 4th of July several years ago. And it was when Rebecca and I still lived in a different part of town. Here we are, we're just watching this fireworks display, and all of a sudden this object kind of comes in. Originally I thought, that could have been a drone or something, but not at that altitude and not at that speed. So it kind of shot in, hovered over where the fireworks display, which was blocks away from us. It was being held at a church parking lot, and it was kind of the little municipality that we lived in. They had their little fireworks display right over in that church parking lot. And it was a giant parking lot because it was a very large Catholic church. And we could see it, very well from our backyard. So we just take out a couple lawn chairs, put them out there, and we could watch the entire thing. So as I said, this thing comes in. We're sitting there and watching it, and it would rotate in these colors, and it just kind of looked like, I don't know, not a ball, but it looked like just this object that was up, I don't know, maybe 20,000 feet, maybe a little less than that. But it was pretty high up there. It was stationary in the sky for a long period of time. And I would say maybe for 2 to 3 minutes or so, when it just hovered right above the where they were shooting off fireworks. And I was able to get some footage of it, and I thought Rebecca did too. But these are on old iPhones or in old devices, and the laptop that I had my footage on, I was getting down from the bed one night, and my foot caught the power cord, and so much for that laptop. That I've never been able to get any data from that. So that's a shame, because I have had and still have a record label, and I had a lot of content that was in the master files, DAW files. I lost a lot of that too, so that really sucked. But I do miss not having that image, because it was a pretty compelling piece of footage. And so anyway, that was the only thing that occurred between those years. And then I started working on this book, and I started doing more and more research. So I started, between YouTube and just articles and things I could get my hands on. The purpose of doing the research was, for the longest time, even though I had heard some things, like I remember watching a show randomly just one night about shadow people, and my ex-wife had these claims, and this is while at the Wallace house. I just thought maybe it was something else, and then but I didn't. It's not that I didn't believe her, it's that I thought it had to be something else. My logical brain said, this is something else. And so when I was watching the show, and I can't even remember what it was like on, it wasn't history, but it was like, TLC, or it was one cable channel that I was watching the show. And I've tried to find that exact same program before, and I've never found it since. But I'll tell you this, that when I saw another testimony that was eerily similar or identical to what she was telling me, it freaked me out. It freaked me out quite a bit. And it gave validity to her experience, or what she had told me her experience was. And then later on in my own experiences, it would lend credence to the validity of what she was claiming in the first place. So just really crazy. So that was my reluctance to, start this up again and really dive into it. And since then, I mean, hell, you can watch all the videos, to get caught up on all my old stories from, many, many moons ago, and even to some of the more recent stuff here. In the episode about the Hitchhiker effect, which the link will be down below in the comments, I talk a little bit about there's a little event that occurred right at top of my street, right around the corner, something odd. Then around, blocks from the house, there was this really crazy tree effect. And then I talk in some depth about the disembodied voice that was trying to lure me out of the house and to the backyard. And when I went out there, not only did I not find anybody in distress, I was overwhelmed with the urge to get back inside, which is not a normal occurrence, no matter what it would be going on out there. So I found that to be, really strange. But I got to tell you, the thing with Coon Creek, which that episode is also below, that really freaked me out was how oddly weird it is. And then the mimicking of different things, possibly an old man, and possibly, this weirdly strange owl-like sound that we experienced there. Just to catch you up with the stuff with Coon Creek, my son Will and I were over here at the house, and I was giving him a ride home, and I told him, I said, hey, I got my good EMF meter in the car, and we could stop by Coon Creek and just check this out real quick. And when you do a lot of research about these paranormal topics, there's some repeating themes that you kind of take away as good common sense and good knowledge to have in your arsenal of what to do and what to look out for and stuff like that. And one thing that I've heard over and over and over again is, you hear whistling in the forest, do not answer, and most likely you need to hightail it from that area. So we park at Coon Creek and Will's doing something with his phone, and I get out of the car and I'm going to grab the EMF meter, and no more did I step out of the car, and there's it's all force behind me. I hear a whistle. I hear somebody go, And I was like, oh, hell no. So I just got back in the car and left. But it was so weird because for, I don't know, for several months, every time I would go past that area, it was like I was be drawn to, I mean, it was almost overwhelming urge to want to stop no matter what time of day or night and go into this wooded area there. There's this little section there that it was calling me for me to come back there. And it bothered me that it seems so, like, you need to come here, kind of, kind of a thing. And that passed, now I go past there and it's the opposite. It's like I'm very reluctant to want to go there at all. And I think it's the combination of the experiences we've had out there, but that kind of gets you a little bit closer to the here and now. Let me show you the thing that really pushed me over the edge and made me go, that's it, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. Oh, let me back up for just a second too. I'll tell you, this is a combination with, Rebecca's asked me several times, stuff like, were you just in the laundry room downstairs? No, I wasn't downstairs. Or I thought I heard something. Can you check and make sure there's nobody in the house? Things like that. So weird. I've been late, several nights, and I will physically, like, to the point where it's jarring to see, a shadow move, that's, stationary, all of a sudden move, or, a small orb light will traverse the room. And as I've said before, you have choices when these things occur. You can react, you can do a lot of different things. There's a self-defense mechanism that occurs within me, and I recognize it, that it's not blocking it out. I'll acknowledge it, but I will ignore it. I'll just say, nope, nope, I am not doing this right now. And I'll just ignore it. And then other times I'll, be like, what the fuck, and kind of react differently than that. But I saw this increase. It was like this ramp up of escalating things that made me go, you know what? I need to shut this down, and I need to not be doing any of this. And, I was going to encourage the boys, I know you guys have some interest in this, but you need to leave it alone. And what changed my mind, I'll talk about here in a little bit, but it's all tied to what I'm getting ready to show you. So when I say it out loud, it's like, really, dude, you're kind of freaking out about this, but it's all in context. If you were me and you were able to see the kind of escalation of little things happening around the house, then larger things, then bigger bangs. So I was here by myself with the dogs, and I can't tell you how many times I thought either one or both of them had arrived back home, or that somebody was breaking in the house. And every time I'd have to investigate it, and there'd never be anything but here. No idea, and I've had mice before and been able to, kind of figure out, okay, that's what made that sound and stuff like that too. And it's not been any of that. This is a little bit more different. This is footsteps for one thing. The door to the bedroom, you can, there's like, I don't know, about this much of a gap underneath all the bedroom doors. And I remember one night I was laying there, and I happened to look over at the doorway, and I saw something, a shadow, break the light source, the light I leave on at night, little nightlight thing. I saw something, not just, it didn't flicker on and off. I could see from one corner of the door to the end of the door where it was shadow around the bottom of it. So what it appeared to was like somebody was passing by that door. And that freaked my shit out a little bit. I'll be honest with you. That was something that was really starting to at that point, I was already starting to think, well, I need to do something. I need to smudge this house, at a minimum or something. Um, and then one day, I'm in my garage. We got a lot of warm weather early here in the eastern part of Kansas and western Missouri. It got really warm for a period of time several months ago, to the point where we had to do something with the air conditioner. And our air conditioner, when we tried to run it, it had a leak or something with it. So I had to call our property management company to have them come out or send somebody out to take a look at that. In the meantime, we were reliant on, the window units. So I'm looking for these air conditioner parts, right? And so I reach my hand inside the thing and I'm pulling out, okay, there's that. Okay, there's that. And I reach in there and I was like, what the hell is this? And keep in mind that I had placed all of these items in that tote the previous fall. So just last, October, November, whenever it got cool and stayed cool, is when I probably took the window unit out and put those up in the garage. So nobody had touched this tote since then. And in the bottom, underneath all of the items that I had put in there, because I took this tote down when I put these items in there, because I wanted them kind of nicely arranged so I'd be able to retrieve them when I go to if I had to put the window units back in. There's such a pain in the ass to hunt down all that stuff if you don't have your stuff organized, of the screws for the windows and stuff. It's just I like to keep it all together and kind of somewhat organized, so I can make my own life a little easier when I have to retrieve these things. So I was the one who put these items in there, and I had the tote down, and there was none of this. This item was not in there when I put these items in there. The only additional thing is a spare pistol cleaning kit of mine. That's the only other item that's in that tote. And so I pull out this object. So I'm going to share this with you. This is actually it's an alligator gar skull from this is probably local. And I have no clue whatsoever how in the hell it would get there. Zero clue, honestly. I think to myself, well, could a raccoon or something have put that? That's my only logical, but there would be possibly, I think there would be, something else, some other bones, maybe the remaining fish bones. And then where in the hell would they get it from? There's no water source that's in close proximity of me that would have, the native alligator gar that this is. Shawnee Mission Park probably, if they've got that fish in there, would probably be the closest source, and that's miles away. So I had to scratch my head, but I got to share this with you. In the episode about Savannah, I talk about somebody who proclaimed to be a witch, and it was a very scary experience for me. But the first thing that popped in my head was my brother-in-law had asked me at one point if anything negative had happened to me since airing that episode and talking about it, because there was a threat that was made to me, which basically she said that, if I ever talk about any of this, any time, any place, that she'd know that I was talking about it, and there'd be consequences to pay. So he had asked me if there anything occurred since I had put that out there. And I said, no, it's been pretty quiet. And it had been at that point. It was There was nothing kind of really going on. So when I pulled that skull out of that crate and held it up and realized, okay, because at first I thought, well, is this a something that's carved, like a wooden carving thing? Then once I realized it was what it was, the first thought I had was his message to me, asking me that question, and my mind raced to her. And I was instantaneously, because of trauma, I was instantaneously just petrified with fear. And it was in that moment that I decided enough is enough is enough. I'm done. No more. No más. And my plan was, I was at work, and my plan was that when I got home that day, I was going to burn that skull, get rid of it, do whatever I needed to do to get that out of the house. And I had placed it up. Well, actually, you can see it. It was actually sitting right here on this on the fence outside. I had placed it out there, and I guess the wind had blown it off or something, and Sebastian had thrown it away in the big trash can outside. And initially I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna have to get in there and get that out and pull it out and get some lighter fluid and get this done. And then I was like, yeah, because it was buried, like underneath a bunch of other nasty stuff. I was like, nah, man, tomorrow's trash day or whatever. And I knew it was gonna, it would be away from the house at that point, and so I let it go. And surprisingly enough, everything has kind of quieted down. I'm gonna knock on wood. But it's left me with some nagging ass questions that I'm sorry, I can't seem to let go of. Here are the 3 burning questions I'm faced with. First and foremost, what is it? I mean, really, what is behind all this? It does seem to me like there's a lot of correlation, and it does seem to me like I'm being pointed constantly towards one type of entity / phenomenon that this could possibly be. And from what I've been shown through research is that it's something that you don't really want to talk about. You're not supposed to, call them out by their name. And if it is that, then what does it want? I mean, what's it want from me? I have to believe that there was a little period of time when Jaden and Will and I were talking about these things with some regularity. And it was right before we went out to Coon Creek. Maybe there's a correlation. I don't know. And then lastly, if this is what it may be, then how can I stop it? I mean, if this thing is genuinely a threat and poses a danger to me and my family, then I need to find a way to make it cease. There's a show, the channel's The In Between, and then the link for that is down here below too, and it's on the screen too as well. Big shout out to her channel and all the incredible work that she does. To me, she's one of the best YouTubers that talks paranormal stuff out there, period. And I've learned a great deal, but I got to tell you, it seemed quite shocking because, I was left scratching my head so much by these weird ass occurrences, the whole thing with the Coon Creek trail, and then this disembodied voice in my backyard, the weird snarling thing at the tree, seeing coyotes come out of what seemed like thin air. Just a lot of weird stuff that just left me scratch my head. I didn't know, and then as it began experiencing stuff around the house And that's really the breaking point for me, is when it's in my own sanctuary, because whatever goes on out there, I mean, it's out there, it's not in here. And I get really in a different disposition when it's in here, in my own sanctuary. Then I've become far more concerned about everything. So the episode I'm talking about that she had is in reference to a you'll have to forgive me, I'm not going to say the name. Her third story rang so much like, it grabbed my attention, the intro that she did, because what she was describing was, almost identical to what my experience had been when I heard somebody call out for help. And the thing I was left with was, oh my God, yes, it's a monotone voice that does not reflect the context of what the voice should be, sounding like. In other words, like, if you're in distress, especially if you're hurt and distressed, you're probably not going to be real monotonish, and you're probably not going to sound mechanical, and you're probably not going to the cadence was all weird with the voice too, and it just didn't make any sense. I know for me, if I was I'd fallen outside and was hurt and I needed help, I'd be like, yelling help, and somebody, please, somebody call 911, something like that, but this was not like that. This was very, help, someone help. It was just so weird. It was so strange. But like I said, here I'm faced with somebody else who basically is reporting this exact kind of same thing. And I was just like, oh, shit. And then it kind of clicked. All these things, all these recent things could be related to what the possibility is. And it's, obviously it's here on the screen, but I didn't want to say it out loud. I'm just a wee bit paranoid at the moment. So, but the thing is, I feel like I need to resolve this. I need to find out for sure. If you start fucking with me and my family, that's my first initial was to run from it. But now, as a little time has passed, I'm more of not in the flight mode. I'm more in the fight mode with respect to this. So, and I had a real crazy string of bad luck things occur too. Crazy bad luck. Huge financial impact, bad luck type of things, so anyway, well, that was a long story to get around to telling you that I don't think we're done yet. I think we're going to at least try to do some more with this. I'm wanting to make some changes in my world so that I can actually dedicate a little bit more time to my channels, because I really want to get interviewing going, and it's solely on me. Why I haven't done that is I just haven't had time to be honest with you. It's hard enough just to get something like this recorded, and it's only by the virtue of I just got home and wanted to take a minute while this was on my mind to kind of brief you guys on it. So I think one of the next things we do is I'm probably going to get back down to that area and do a little bit more in-depth research. I'm torn between, do I want to go by myself, film it, or take somebody else with me? It seems like when the most active we've seen that area is been when it's been all three of us, Jaden, Billy and I, or Will and I. There's something there. There's something underneath the Warwick too, in that basement underneath the lobby too. But anyway, it's enough for today. Now I got you caught up on why I've been gone for so long and what I was planning on doing, which was to shut this bad boy down. But I think we're going to keep going. Talk to you soon. Keep it weird. Strange world out there. Strange, strange, strange. Peace.
Skinwalker. Hey, what's going on, para people? It is Will from Magnet Paranormal. If you could just take a moment out of your day to like and subscribe, that'd be greatly appreciated, and it would help out our channel a lot. Thank you for your moment of time. Go back to what you were doing.